Kimberly. Now, Kevin Rudd's played out in the most public way possible. What happened privately in those difficult weeks has now been detailed in a new book, The Diaries of Labor strategist Bruce Hawker, who joins us now. Bruce, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Danielle.
Now, you were next to Kevin Rudd every step of the way during the campaign. What went wrong?
Well, I think the main problem we had was disunity in the Labor Party. That had been there for 3 years, and the Australian public always saw that as being a significant problem. The other big thing, and I talk about this in the book, is that time was always against us. We didn't really have very much time from when he became leader in June to when the election was actually held in September. It was actually 74 days, and constantly the one thing that we were fighting against, apart from Tony Abbott, of course, was time.
What did you do wrong, do you think, as a strategist? What would you go back and do differently if you had your time again?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I've thought about that on more than one occasion. I think one of the things that we overdid was the number of events we would try to do in a day. There was always pressure on to go to this member's seat or that member's seat, and I think with the benefit of hindsight, I'd strip a lot of that back out. I think there were times when the media was pushing us along a certain route, and we should have been a little bit more disciplined in our messaging.
What about some of the policies? Do you regret the Northern Territory special taxation zone policy, for example?
Well, yes and no. I mean, that was a very popular policy in the Northern Territory. The problem was that it gave the impression that we were creating policy on the run. Once again, as I said earlier, part of the problem was that we didn't have much time really to develop coherent policy and on a range of issues. We had a number of major issues, of course, but on that one, it was an attempt, I think, to make it a bit more meaty, a bit more gritty. In Canberra and elsewhere, it was seen as policy on the run, and that reflected poorly on us.
Did you kind of hijack strategy in your role, do you think?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, we talked on a daily basis with George and his team in the campaign headquarters. I think there were some people that looked to do a bit of scapegoating and say, oh, you know, we wouldn't have done it that way, or we would have done it another way. The truth was, all the decisions that were made on that campaign were done in close liaison with campaign headquarters.
You talked about scapegoating. Do you think that News Corp is to blame? Do you think that Julia Gillard's popularity or unpopularity is to blame? Those seem to be two scapegoats that come out in the book.
Well, I wouldn't say they're scapegoats. I'm just looking for reasons for, you know, why the campaign went poorly. It's true that News Limited ran a very concerted campaign against the party and the government from day one. I mean, we worked closely with News Limited journalists, particularly in the Daily Telegraph, to you know, push good stories which we thought would be appealing to their readers, and you know, that worked to some extent. But after the campaign was called, the election was called, it became quite clear that there was an institutional decision within News Limited to really campaign strongly against Labor, to blow us off course on a regular basis. So we'd be trying to talk about, say, asylum seekers or some other important issue, cost of living, and the headlines would be about a makeup artist who'd got very upset about something allegedly said or not said by Kevin Rudd in a preparation for a debate. So that would become the dominant story the day that we'd have to battle. That
raised sort of bad memories for people about Kevin Rudd's personality, that perhaps he made people work too hard. Since Nicola Roxon has come out and said that he's a bastard, I mean, could he be at times?
Oh, look, I think he's a very demanding person. Mind you, he was not demanding of the makeup artist. I was in the room at the time, and he did not say a word. He smiled to the lady, and she went about doing the work. But, look, he is a rather demanding leader. There's no doubt about that.
Would he be rude?
Oh, well, I didn't witness it up close. I think he would be, you know, forceful and strident and demanding of people. But I didn't see the rude side that people say that they've experienced. So, you know, I take that with a grain of salt, I've got to say.
Bruce Hawker, thanks very much for your time.
Pleasure.